This is going to be the last one that I do tonight here. And I wanted to talk about this. Let me see. How are we doing on time? I keep my glasses off. Yeah, about an hour and 40 minutes. This will be a good long one for you guys. Is this a win, lose, or a draw for men? That's really the only way I could phrase this, because men are getting married at a less rate than ever before, and now men are more likely to be single than women. And they say it's not a good sign. Let me say I disagree. It is a good sign. It is an excellent sign. It means that men are not being the providers. Men are not getting trapped into a marriage where they might get hurt over divorce, get hurt over child support. Men are saying, hey, I'm going to be single now, and I'm okay with that. Now, there are some losses that go with being single, but I think there are more wins that outweigh this. The big losses, I think, are, number one, if you really wanted to be married and have that picket house on the fence on the hill with a wife and the 5 kids and the dogs, that's not likely going to happen for you. Or if it does, it's a gamble. It's a dice toss. If you really wanted children and having a big family, again, it's a dice toss for you. Outside of those two circumstances, I think this is the best thing that ever happened for men ever of all time. Because it means men can chase their passions and not dollars. It means, because if you face it, a lot of guys would be like, I'm all right driving around an old ratty car, like it's safe, and I just installed a new Bluetooth stereo in it, $300 stereo in a $500 car, but the car works and it gets me from point A to Z, and it works. That's where most men are very utilitarian. Most of the time they upgrade to a newer vehicle because they either say, hey, I want to show I have some money or some status, or they're dating or married to a woman that's like, I do not want to be seen driven around the town in this crappy car. Well, that in choice 2, the guy says, well, I have to buy a newer car. I have to make more money to afford that car to make her happier to get the women. That's not necessarily a win. A guy making a lot less could be happier doing what he's doing for a job, but he makes less money, so it's still a draw. Like a guy that makes $100,000 but has to pay for a $200,000 house and a $40,000 car and $5,000 worth of makeup and dresses and everything else for his wife. Take that guy versus the guy that's making $35,000 or $40,000 that maybe saved up and bought his own small piece of land or a little trailer or whatever, a small flat on a piece of land that's bought and paid for, so that doesn't cost him anything but a couple $100 in taxes a year, and he drives a 10-year-old vehicle that runs well, but that's also bought and paid for. That guy that makes $35,000 a year after taxes, we'll say, he has $35,000 a year to spend as he wishes. The guy that makes $100,000 a year that has to pay for that $200,000 house to make his wife happy and buy the fancy car to make his wife happier, to try to get girls and to take her out to fancy restaurants and to take her out to do whatever else that she wants that doesn't bore her to death, or that gets divorced and has to pay her half of everything in alimony and child support and everything else. Ask me who has more money. The single guy that's living on a small piece of land with that used car has infinite amounts of more money and more peace. So let's read what they say here. And they say, men are now more likely to be single than women. It's not a good sign. Almost a third of adult single men live with a parent. Let me pause there. Those adult single men that are living with parents, 18 and up is considered an adult. These might be guys that are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. They still live at home because either A, they're paying off college. Maybe they're doing an apprenticeship. A lot of them I've heard are living at home while they pay off their college debt so they don't carry it off into forever. I think that's smarter than trying to move out on your own and get your own place. I mean, pay off that debt quick and be done with it and then move on with your life without the debt. But almost a third of them are living with a parent. Single men are much more likely to be unemployed, financially fragile, and lack a college degree than those with a partner. Now, those with a partner usually infers that they're older, because young people are not getting married and have partners at a younger age. So if you ask a 25-year-old guy, are you single or do you have a partner? Most are going to say I'm single because they're fresh out of college. They're living with their parents trying to pay back their debt. or they're living with some guy friends while they work at a job trying to work their way up in a career. Maybe they're taking an apprenticeship. So again, those statistics, notice there's no ages in there. I think that's important. They say they're also likely to have a lower median earnings. Single men earn less in 2019 than in 1990. Well, that's not good that single men are earning less in 2020 than they were in 1990, even adjusting for inflation. But I'll also argue more of them are going to college with no idea what they want to do, getting some worthless degree, and coming out with a bunch of school debt, a gender studies degree, and working as a barista. Where back in my day, I graduated school around 1990. Back in my day, you didn't have any of those weird degrees. Like you could go get a philosophy degree or an art literature degree or something like that. But they actually meant something back then, like to write for a newspaper or something like that. You'd have to have some sort of journalism degree, or they wanted you to. So most men went into STEM fields. The degrees meant a lot more. So yeah, you made more money back then. They said single women, meanwhile, earn the same as they did 30 years ago, but those with partners have increased their earnings by 50%. All right, so what they're saying basically is if you're married, you make more money. Okay, but you also spend a hell of a lot more money too. And do you make more money because that's what's required to get a woman? See, all these things they don't really talk about much. They say these are some of the findings of the new Pew Research analysis of 2019 data on the growing gap between American adults who live with a partner and those who do not. While the study is less about the effect of marriage and more about the effect of that changing economic circumstances have had on marriage, it sheds light on some unexpected outcomes of shifts in the labor market. Over the same time period that the fortunes of single people have fallen, the study shows that proportion of American adults who live with a significant other, be it spouse or unmarried partner, also declined substantially. In 1990, about 71% of folks from the age of 25 to 54, which are considered the prime working years, had a partner or they were married to or living with. In 2019, only 62% did. That's only a 9% gap between 1990 and 2019. So you're only saying 9% less people now have a partner than they did almost 30 years ago. That's nothing huge. That's nothing critical. But the majority of them are men. And what this tells me is, again, I think men are realizing marriage is a bad deal, cohabitation is a bad deal, because there's financial penalties. If somebody breaks up with me or leaves me or cheats on me or whatever, there is a literal financial penalty to me. Can you imagine being a guy married or cohabitating with a woman? She cheats on him with some other dude, and then she goes and says, hey, I want a separation or I'm moving apart. And the court, because he makes more money, the court decides, hey, sir, you need to give her money because you make more money. Doesn't matter. It's a no-fault state. So basically, you are now paying a woman to cheat on you and leave you. Do you think men are stupid? Like, how long are they going to actually put up with this? They're not stupid. They say here, partly this is because people are taking longer to establish that relationship. The median age of marriage is creeping up, and while now more people live together than before, that has not matched the numbers of people who are staying single. But it's not just an age shift. The number of older single people is also much higher than it was in 1990, from a quarter of 40 to 54-year-olds to almost a third by 2019. And among those 40 to 50-year-olds, 1 in 5 men live with a parent. And now they say that's among those 40 to 54-year-olds, 1 in 5 men live with a parent. Now, that's not necessarily good by any means. But at 40 to 54 years old, I'm 49 years old. I just spent the last couple of years staying with my family. Why? Number one, I made some life choices. Number two, my father has dementia. More specifically, a type of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. They need help around the house. My sister's not available to help them. I am. So I would have been one of those 1 in 5 men staying with my parents for a little while. But that age range is also an age range where a lot of men are getting divorced. What happens to a guy who gets divorced in that age range, has to pay alimony, maybe has to pay child support, and can barely afford to live on his own. Of course he has to go live with his parents. A lot of guys get run through the ringer with this stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of those men are actually divorcees who've been hammered by divorce courts and say, well, I'll move in with my folks for a little while I try to survive this and get back on my feet. That would not surprise me. I'm sure a small percentage of them are also people that want to take care of their parents because they're good men. And then maybe there is a percentage of them that are just not doing very well. But it's not, I don't think that's a failure to launch kind of thing, because I don't see somebody from 22, 23, 24 years ago graduating college and just never living home for the next 30 years. I really doubt that happens. They say the trend has not had an equal impact across all sectors of society. The Pew study, which uses information from the 2019 American Community Survey, notes that men are now more likely to be single than women, which was not the case 30 years ago. Black people are much more likely to be single, 59%, than any other race, and black women, 62%, are the most likely to be single of any sector. Asian people, 29%, are the least likely to be single, followed by whites at 33% and Hispanics at 38%. Something that is pretty obvious is that Asians do get divorced less. They have lower divorce statistics, which is pretty telling, to be honest with you. Okay, I got my cutoff is 2 hours for uploads, so I'm going to wrap this up in the next 8 minutes here. They say more researchers agree that trend lines show that fewer people are getting married, and those who do are increasingly better off financially, have a lot more to do with the effect of wealth and education on marriage than vice versa. People who are financially stable are just much more likely to find and attract a partner. Yes, because women want money. So the more financially stable a man is, the better prospects he has to get a woman. But again, once he does get that woman, how much of the money he has to pay out for the woman? Where a guy like myself, look, I do okay for myself. I did okay for myself as a network engineer. I do okay for myself as a YouTuber. If something went horribly wrong, my truck is paid for, my motorcycle is paid for, I have enough money to buy a piece of land and put maybe a home on it, all my stuff's paid for. If something happens and I go, oh crap, I'm going to have to be a ditch digger, or I'm going to have to go, I don't know, work as an apprentice plumber, or go work at a convenience store for $2,000 a month or whatever I might get, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll cut back on my expenses. Do you think a married guy can do that? Hell no. She's not gonna get the standard of living that she wants, and she'll leave him, which puts him back as an unsuccessful single guy, supposedly less financially well-off single guy. That's why the numbers are skewed. Yes, men have to work harder to make more money to keep the woman happy, but also if he loses his employment, or all of a sudden takes a drastic pay cut, it's likely the woman leaves him anyway, thus leaving him single again, so he falls back into the single statistic. I think it's a win for men because men can follow their passions. They don't have to chase after the almighty dollar. They can relax about it, and they can follow their own passions. Maybe they make less, but they can live much closer to earth. As far as furniture, I have this table, that bookstand, and a mattress and on a floor. That's it. No art on the walls, no kitchen dining room table, no bed stand, literally nothing. Why? Don't need it. I use the bed to sleep. I put my crap on the floor next to the bed. If I want to eat, I come in. I'm alone. I come in here. I'll watch something on my computer while I eat. Here's my dining room table. I want to watch a movie. Here's my couch. This great chair reclines back. Watch something. Everything's right here. Men can do that. Women can't. I know this because my aunt owned a bunch of soap that was in shapes of candy bars and seashells. I don't know men that buy that stuff. Guys, thank you very much for joining me here on Locals. If you're on Locals, if you're on YouTube and watching these segments across many days, this is all one video that I put out, and it's all over on Locals if you'd like. I also do it in podcast form over on Locals, so you can catch it all as a podcast using very low data amounts. So make sure to join me over there. You can support me, become a supporting member. It helps me stay off YouTube. I am back here on YouTube a little bit, just because I've gotten so many messages from people saying, please continue to, I know you don't want to do YouTube and you want to make a stand against YouTube, but we want your content, and it's helped me a lot, and I really appreciate it. And look, ultimately, I'm here for you guys. And if a lot of you really say, please stay, because this is where I want to watch it and I enjoy you here, I will. That's that. You know, you guys are my employer. So if you literally want me to do something, odds are, as long as it's not something that's degrading or humiliating for me, I'll do it. Over on the locals forums, guys, don't forget, for supporters, we have movie nights where I stream a movie and make fun of it and roast it a la Science Theater 3K. I'm going to be doing some gaming nights here at some point. Also, I think I'm going to be doing, let me know what you guys think of this. I think I'm going to be doing a call-in show. I've got to go get a burner cell phone that I can turn on. You guys can call. We'll have a live talk show with call-in guests or call-in viewers and all that kind of thing. And I think I'm going to add that to the curriculum over on locals.com. So join me over there. Guys, that's it for me. This has been Better Bachelor. I'm Joker. Remember, there's a big theme here, and you guys have to know it, that it's women are unrealistic. They've gone crazy. Just keep doing your thing, improving yourself. You will be okay. And ultimately, unless they learn from the school of hard knocks, it's them. They're the ones that are really going to suffer in the long run.